This is the MOJO, the Meaning of Life and Business podcast, where life and business intersect. Hosted by Jennifer Glass, CEO of Business Growth Strategies International and BGSI Coaching. We are dedicated to your success. Hello and welcome to another episode of MOJO, the Meaning of Life and Business. On today's program, we're going to be talking about success and the way, and we'll probably be touching on the meaning of life as we go through what it is that we're talking about. After all, the show is called MOJO, the Meaning of Life and Business. And so I've got a really incredible guest with me today who's going to really help us understand a little bit more about the way, success, and possibly the meaning of life that when we throw it in as well. So before I bring our guest in, let me tell you a little bit about our guest. Andrew Calderella's book, The Way, is a perfect solution to many of the problems that we face in our world today. Andrew was born in Detroit, Michigan, to parents fighting for the civil rights movement. His life is a combination of the Rocky story, Think and Grow Rich, and the Celestine Prophecy on steroids. Andrew is an inspirational speaker, trainer, and coach who specializes in helping everyone be their best in all areas of life while making a more significant positive impact in our world. He is helping some of our world's leading movers and shakers and will influence many more in the years to come. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Andrew Calderella to our program. And welcome, Andrew.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here. Appreciate you having me on your show.
Absolutely. Thank you. So, Andrew, I know that I mentioned that your life is a combination of all of these different pieces, and I didn't get into some of the background. I know when you and I spoke originally when we scheduled this podcast, we went through some of the things that happened to you, and your media kit has a whole bunch more in terms of what happened. But I just want to touch on your life being a combination of the Rocky story, Think and Grow Rich, the Celestine Prophecy, and more on steroids.
Sure.
Can you give us an idea what exactly that would even mean? I mean, it's just so interesting to think about that.
I appreciate that. First, my name is Andrew Calderella. Calderella is like Cinderella. I know it's a little tough sometimes when you look at it. So it's Calder instead of Cinder. I am so sorry, by the way. Oh, no worries, no worries. It happens all the time. It actually makes it easier for people to remember sometimes because now it's like Calderella, Cinderella. I'm the Cinderella man, some people say. That whole phrase that's in that introduction was written by some PR people. I was in this meeting and the guy's like learning about my life. He's like, wow, your life is like the Rocky story. And the book is like, an updated Think and Grow Rich. And then he said the secret, because it's like all this wisdom of the ages brought out so everybody can, assimilate it really easily. And I had a problem with the secret because I felt like the secret was not really a secret. It's really just boils down to forming a proper affirmation and being open to abundance. That's the secret. So there's a lot more to the way than that. So that's why they changed it to the Celestine Prophecy, which is more of a spiritual journey. So the idea of the Rocky story is, I was born, like you mentioned, I believe, with learning disabilities. So I had dyslexia, the learning disabilities. I also had a lazy eye, which meant I was seeing 2200 vision out of that eye. So they put a patch over my good eye to make me look out of that bad eye. I don't know if you imagine a kid walking around with patch over his eye. I got these huge books. I couldn't read, couldn't do math, couldn't catch a ball to save my life. I was bullied relentlessly. Called stupid all the time. I had to go to these learning disabled groups to help me learn things. It was even the teachers got into it. Teacher ridiculing me in front of the whole class, telling me how stupid I was and I should just drop out of school. This is like in 4th grade. Needless to say, that was really, really challenging. So that's like the Rocky story. And I overcame that. Just, I did graduate obviously from elementary school, went on to high school, became a school leader. I've always been an athlete. I went on to college, got degrees in speech communications, theology, and philosophy, started a lot of companies, had a lot of different jobs. And so I think that's the idea of overcoming. So it's the Rocky story. I've also been a fighter. I've had so many fights you can't even imagine. almost killed people accidentally and saved people's lives who've been stabbed. I think the other part of the way and the Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich was, really a story for how super rich people got all their money, whereas the way is how all people become the best people we can be and fix our society. So it's kind of an updated Think and Grow Rich. I don't know if that kind of answers your question, but I think it's all related to my life story. And I appreciate you saying it's really interesting. It's been tough to live, honestly.
It definitely, when you're looking at your life, and I mean, sometimes we all look at what it is that we're dealing with, and it's like, how in the world did I get here? How in the world did I manage to get through so many things? Like you, my childhood, I was bullied, many, many times. I think that many kids, you're either the bully or you're being bullied. There's not a lot of in the middle. In terms of where kids are, and sometimes it's just having a name, having no athletic ability, hello, and all of those other things. It just seems to come up in that regard. And so looking at your life and the story is really incredible. And I like how you really got that combination in terms of really thinking, well, what is it that makes Andrew who Andrew is? And then that obviously then had a hand in you then saying, all right, let me look at what's going on in the world, and I'm now going to say, this is what allows me then to come up with the way, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, I think the way stems way back to when I was a kid. I had a great internal life. I was very spiritual, close to God, had a lot of spiritual experiences. So while I was going through all this stuff, I also, later in school, I was tested out and, I had these learning disabilities. They did, analysis of my brain and all sorts of things. And they found out I was also gifted and a genius in abstract thinking and all these other areas. And so I think sometimes when we look at people, we try to put everybody in a cookie cutter approach where we're not like that. A lot of the leaders that we've ever had in human history and a lot of our innovators have what we call learning disabilities. It's really just differences in learning and differences in ways we think. So while I might not be able to memorize massive formulas, I can find errors in a lot of data or put certain things together that other people can't necessarily. So I'm not saying that to aggrandize myself. I'm saying that to say that we're all different, and that's what makes humanity beautiful, in the sense that together in our diversity is how we actually solve all the problems and create a better world. It's not us all being the same that makes the world a great place. It's our differences that makes it a great place. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. And I mean, I like how you've got that, and then you also have the one, which is another way of looking at things. And it's kind of really interesting to think. I mean, first when I hear the one, and I know it's completely separate, but when I hear the one, I hear, or I first thought comes to mind actually, is, what was that great Klingon being? I think it was the one that controls everything. I can't remember what that was, but what that character's name was. But the idea, though, is we're really one species, right, at the end of the day. And we're going, or we hope to be going, in the right direction. So I know that I'm segueing from the way to the one and the tribe and everything that you've got in terms of all the different things, and I apologize for jumping around.
No, that's fine.
It might be my ADHD on steroids right now, in terms of what I'm personally dealing with, and probably because the day that I've been having. But as we look, though, at where you've been, I mean, the way itself, I mean, you break it down into a couple of different pieces, right? I mean, you break it down into how to be physically fit, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, etc., in that regard in the book. And it really is important because that also then really helps us as we look at the one and being part of the greater human species, being the best in what we can be doing. So can you tell us what it means to really, though, be at our best in those areas and how it can tie in?
Sure, absolutely. As I found out, and I'm sure as you know, and most people out there know, if any major part of your life falls apart, right, it can ruin you. And it doesn't matter what it is, your relationships, your health, your finances, whatever it may be, we need to keep this all up to par or better, right, if we're really going to be our best. And what I found is, after 30 years of research and reading thousands of books and all these other media and researching this, is that it's like we find all these little golden threads, right, on all these different places, and all of us have some of them, but we're all missing some. And this creates a lot of confusion. It creates a lot of unhealthy people, a lot of confused people, and all the rest of the problems we see in our society. So really, if we're going to be the best people we can be, we all need to integrate a wide variety of vital information into our lives as quickly as possible that covers all these different areas, right? And then we also need to join together in the right way to make the changes in our society. And that's where the way and the one come in. So the way is the idea is where we get all this information. The one is the one tribe, the one movement, and one party. So the one tribe is where we can then all group together. I have videos coming out. We're going to have events, all sorts of stuff coming down the road for the one tribe. So this is where we can make friends, make money, have fun, learn, and do all this as people. Like you said, we're one species. And then the one movement is where we as good people can all join together to get some really big things done. And this is really important because I've traveled the world. I've talked to people everywhere, and we all want the same things, right? We want to be healthy and happy and have great relationships and all these personal stuff, but we also want a thriving world and ecosystem. We want good companies that aren't destroying us and underpaying us and all the rest. And the same thing with our governments. We want them to work well. This is everybody in the entire world. I know that's a generalization, but I'll try to go through this a little quickly. But the idea is that there's so many good people in the world that we all want these good things. There's literally billions of us. So why is it that a few hundred people and a few hundred companies get to decide and destroy everything for everybody? It's because there's so many good people, but we're so siloed, we're so segregated, we're so divided that we are so diluted in our efforts that we get nothing done. And I say this respectfully because our hearts are in the right place, but it's not doing what we needed to do. And just look at how many environmental groups there are in the world. How many billions have been placed there? How many people fighting for civil rights, just the basic human decency to be treated as equals all over the world? There are literally thousands of these organizations, and their efforts are, okay, we've come some distance on some things, but really the world's still being destroyed. People aren't being treated as equals, and it's been this way for thousands of years. So what we need is an organization that we can join within, and you don't have to stop your group. You just join your group and your people into this bigger organization. Imagine 1 billion people together, a lot of them donating money, a lot of them that are going to meetings or clicking on petitions and whatnot. We could literally make a deal with the Brazilian government and the farmers and everybody else to buy and protect the rainforest, the Congo. We can establish an international standard of equal rights for everybody and the way that we should be treated by law enforcement and all the rest. I mean, there's so many big things we can do with that amount of people in power. Does that all make sense so far? Okay. So
it absolutely does. Thank you.
I just want to say one more thing about the one party. So the idea of the one party is just the next level, is that we all have to codify these things into law. We can't just march and be like, yeah, we need to actually make a difference. So the one party is about creating a party that makes government work properly. If you look at parties, usually they're more like special interest groups. You can almost look at the names, like the Green Party, the Labor Party, whatever it may be. It's like that's all their focus is. What we need is a party that's at the core, based on making government, all the things that it does, work really well, efficiently, get rid of the waste and all the rest of it, and make good deals with business and school systems and all the rest to really make things work. And so what I'm talking about is creating a party that's based on making government work for everybody and dealing with these fringe issues for sure. But what I also found is that most political parties, they're based in virtues like financial responsibility, the green movement, whatever it is, protecting our environment. These are all virtues, and we need a party that integrates all the virtues, not just a few, but literally all of them, to help humanity become our best. You know what I mean? Our government needs to reflect us, and it's got to reflect all the good that we are. Does it all make sense?
Yes, and I know, again, when you and I were talking, we did talk about the one party and how it really can make a huge benefit in many different ways. Again, because you're not dealing with the partisanship of this side, that side, right versus left, liberals, conservative, whatever. Everything is really what is going to move the needle for the human race in making it better. It's not just a special interest. And it's really incredible to be thinking about how we can be doing that to really be making that difference. But I want to take a slight turn for a moment, though, and I want to focus on how the way and the one can be really having that connection to what it would be when we look at the meaning of life, right? I mean, we know the meaning of life, and if you ask Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the answer is 42.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's a whole other story. But if we were to ask you, Andrew, what is the meaning of life? I mean, we know theologically and philosophically, and you're certainly fit to answer in many of those areas with your theology background and all of the years that you've been looking at this. But I'm curious if you can give us an idea in your mind, what is the meaning of life?
Sure, that's a really great question. It's actually covered in The Way. And just so everybody knows, I have this, it's not out yet, but it's, I don't know when your show's gonna come out, so it may be. But it's the Life Essentials Masterclass. And the very first lesson is, what is the meaning of life? Okay, I'm gonna do this quickly. So the class, I think, is like 30, 40 minutes. So I'm gonna do it quickly. I think you and your audience will get this pretty good. The answer is 42. No, I'm just joking. You just said that. No. When we look at the meaning of life, we have to understand the rules to life. When we talk about the rules to life, you ever seen the Child's Game of Life, that board game? You ever played that?
Yep, my son loves that game.
Okay, so if you know, it comes in a box. It's got rules. It's got a board you play on. You have pieces that you move along this board, and sometimes random things happen to you. Sometimes you choose your path, and then it determines your fate, right? If you win or lose. So it's really this idea of the rules of life translate to our world. We call these the human conditions. Now, there are big human conditions like the universal things like gravity, day and night, the fact that we are in a universe, you know, entropy, all these really, really big things. And then there are human-centric rules, which have to do with us and our bodies, like the fact that we're born, you know, totally helpless and dependent and ignorant, and then we grow throughout our lives, that we need all these different fuels to feed us, to the fact that we do die, and all these other things that, you know, are based on our humanity. So if you have these universals and the human-centric conditions together and you analyze them, they really boil down to three things, which is self-creation, self-control, and societal development. So basically it's about you, right, creating yourself, and our society, meaning you're born in a world, you're not left unto yourself in the void somewhere. So I call that the society. So really it's self-control. If you look for the meaning of life, then if you literally have to create yourself from a little baby and you have to control this process, if you're really going to become the best person you're going to be, right? And you need to have a world, a society, a network, a family, a friends, a work, and everything else that really helps you become the best person you can be. So this is where we find the meaning of life. The meaning of life, it can be said in a few different ways, but it's like you have to find a meaning in your life. You have to create the meaning in your life. So the question is, and what I ask in this masterclass is, well, then how do we actually create this meaningful life? What actually makes up, you know, when we talk to people, what makes up a meaningful life, and how do you get it? Like literally, like what are the list, what are the steps, and how do you do it? And that's what the rest of the class goes through. So the next lesson in the masterclass is what is the true goal of life? And that's what I phrase it like, so we can all discover all the different goals that we need to have if we're really going to really make this meaningful life. Does that make sense? And do you agree?
Completely, yes. And thank you. And by the way, I just remembered it was the Borg Collective, I think, is the Star Trek race that everything goes to that hive.
The hive mind,
we mentioned that earlier. But anyway, where we go from here, I mean, there's so much that you were just unpacking with the meaning of life in that masterclass. and that's really incredible. And I think that when you are listening to this, definitely see if that masterclass is available yet, and we'll certainly tell you exactly how you can find out more. I will just quickly say 7way.me, but we're not going to go there just yet. But what I want to go back to, though, Andrew, is I want to go back to the seven steps of the way. And so I know the first step is to know, right? And we kind of covered a little bit of this, but I want to kind of go through these steps because it's really important to map it out. And I think our listeners would appreciate having that direction and really understanding where we're going. So if we do step one in knowing, can I actually step back
a little further than that? Because
Please.
I always find that people need to understand some bigger points before we get down to the nitty gritty. That's kind of why I wrote the book the way it was. And I think that's why I actually changed the way I did the masterclass just a little bit, because it does seem like we all as a human race to get on the same page, right? We're going to fix our world and become our best. We need to understand like the goals, like what is the overall goal? Why am I here? What is it I'm supposed to be doing every day, right? And then we understand the way. I can break that down, and then we get into the 7 steps. So to just give a quick little masterclass, and please forgive me, everybody. I want you to know that there is so much more detail than what I say. That's why it took me 30 years to write a book. So don't take, if you're hearing this, you're like, oh, that seems easy. There's much more details for you to know if you're really going to master this and really become the best. So please check out the book and the classes and everything else. It's on the website, like she said. So just to quickly do the success versus true success, and I've done this a few times now pretty successfully, very, very quickly. And then I'll do a quick outline of what the basic format of the solution we're all after. If that makes sense, Jennifer? So you cool with that? Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we did, now you understand the meaning of life, right, is to make your life meaningful. So then we get into, okay, what is the true goal of life? And what are all these goals I need to have if I'm going to live this meaningful life? And if we analyze human race, we kind of get down to the idea of success, right? People want to be successful in life as the goal. But what does success really mean? Now, if you analyze the human race and we talk about success, we usually link this with wealth, power, and fame, sometimes with beauty, intelligence, and even holiness, like if you're high up in the church. So this idea of wealth, power, and fame, if you actually study the lives of all of these people throughout history, I'm talking the kings and queens, the moguls of industry, everything else that you can imagine, and you look at their lives, how are they doing? I think this is obvious, right? It doesn't automatically mean just because you get a lot of money or you're famous that all your relationships automatically work out. You're automatically healthy. You know what to do with all your money. You know, you're happy and all the rest. I've dealt with enough CEOs and wealthy people to know that it's a challenge. Okay, it's really, if you get famous, especially overnight, get a lot of money, you know, really, really smart, it's a challenge to be able to integrate in the world properly and not get lost and corrupted, right? Because we just look throughout human history, how many kings have we seen stuff their palace and build more and more of them while their people are suffering? How many leaders lie to the people, try to manipulate us into doing what they want us to do, even though it's not good for us or it's even the truth, right? So this idea, just because you're successful, wealth, power, and fame, doesn't really mean that you're a good person or have everything that you want. Does that make sense so far?
Very much.
Okay. So then we ask, well, what is true success? So what's the difference between success and true success? Simply put, true success is what a loving parent or mother would want for their child, right? And this is what we all want. We want to be healthy, happy, have great relationships, have something that we're really passionate about, that we love. Ideally, that we're doing that to support ourselves, right? And not only just to survive, but to really thrive in life and have all those other pieces that we all want, right? That's what everybody wants on this planet, every human being. So that's what true success is. So then the next question becomes, okay, so we know the meaning of life is to make our life meaningful. We know that all the goals are pretty complicated, like to be healthy and happy and successful and have great relationships and all this. Now we need to know exactly how to do this. And then the next part of the way is where I define the way. And I do this in 4 words. And these 4 words, really, you can probably argue which word to use on each one of these a little bit, but they really boil down to what I've discovered, that all philosophy, all religion, pretty much the human race is looking for in a solution, right? We want to live it. Right? We can't go away for 20 years somewhere and try to become something and come back to our lives. You know what I mean? It needs to be right now, livable. So I call it living rational. I use the word rational to mean it needs to be reasonable. It needs to be logical. It needs to be customizable to fit your life. It needs to be holistic to cover every part of your life. Otherwise, any missing piece that you have may break you. So it's living rational, positive, and the positive meaning it's good. It's about integrating this good to your life. And the highest good that human beings, that we admire the most, that the traits that we're looking for in ourselves and others that we want to become, are called virtues. And this is really important because there are a lot of different virtues, like being healthy and happy, dedicated, disciplined, and all the rest of the good traits that you can imagine that you want to instill in your kids and yourself and all the rest of it that you admire in others, right? So this idea of living rational, positive action. So the action part of the virtue is that for every virtue, there may be a bunch of different actions that you need to take. And the best actions to take are what we call best practices. So the idea is to integrate virtues and best practices into your life. For example, the virtue of being punctual requires you to leave on time and set reminders. The virtue of being healthy has a lot of best practices associated with, like having great sleeping habits, eating habits, working out, and all the rest, right? You've got to integrate all these different best practices into your life. And the key to the way is that we develop habits in about 90 days. So the way works in 90-day cycles. So as you read the way, you're going to create this daily way for yourself on how you're going to integrate these virtues that you're missing into your life. So you may not be able to do them all at once, but every 90-day cycle, as you're working on integrating these best practices into your life, you become a better and better person. So that's the whole idea of the meaning of life, success versus true success, and then the 4 ideas of the way: living rational, positive action. And then the 7 steps literally walk you through how to do all of that and give you all the rest of the information. Does that make sense?
It does, and thank you. And I just wanted to take a step back on the success piece. And for those of you that know me, you know that my keynote address, you know that my keynote address is "To Success Equate to Happiness." And we know that at each point in life, success is gauged based on where we are. Do we want to see what we're doing next? Are we always going to feel happy based on the success that we've experienced? And so it goes a lot to what you were saying in terms of all of these different pieces. And of course, the true success, like you're saying, a parent would want for their child. For them to be happy, for them to have the relationships and all of those things like you mentioned. And it's really incredible when you think about that. And I mean, it was just really amazing when I was going through my research for my keynote. Talk with people, success means, like you said, the vacations, the cars, the houses, the status, whatever it may be. But it was always, though, what happens tomorrow? Right? Am I really happy just because I've achieved whatever I may have achieved? And so looking at, like you were saying, with those 4 ideas of living, being rational, the positive, and the action, really kind of helps to further those pieces. How does all of that make a difference? How does that start to really shift your very being and make you think about things a little more strategically, a little more thoughtfully? And how do you start making a bigger impact to all of humanity? And it's not just, all right, I made $1 million this year, yay, congratulations, I can pat myself on the shoulder and everything and move on. But it's really, what are you doing now that's going to make that difference? And so that's really incredible how you look at all of those different pieces and continue moving forward in that direction. So moving forward then, and talking about the way now that we start looking at the way and the 7 steps that are involved. So again, the first one being to know. What does that mean?
Sure. the first three steps actually work together. So it's to know, want, and choose. And again, I cover this in the book in quite detail, but to just do it really quickly, let's just add the word good onto the end of these three words. So it's, I know the good, I want the good, and I choose the good. The idea here is that as the human race, as we grow, right, and the human race in general, I'm not talking about every little kid in every instance, I'm talking about in general, we know the difference between right and wrong and good and bad, right? You know what good means, right? That's what the first idea is. And again, I want to start with something that everybody can walk through and understand, right? Before we get into the minor details or the major details, we need to get on the same page and walk this together. So I'm hoping all of humanity, most of us, 99.9%, know what good is. And again, I define what good means in the way, just so you know, when we talk about the way and I go through living rational virtues and a rational positive action, talk about virtues. The virtues boil down to what it means to be a good person and what the good is for humanity, because those words encompass pretty much everything you can imagine, like being loyal and diligent and helpful and kind and all the rest of the good traits that we want. So the idea of being of good, that you know what the good is, that's the first one. I know the good. And it should be obvious that you would want this, right? Obviously that you want the good for yourself and your kids and the world, right? Who doesn't want that? So I know the good, I want the good, and you're going to choose it. This third step here is really important. You can't just want something, you need to reach out and take it. So this idea of making a deep choice, a real choice, a living choice in your mind and your life that's going to change you, this has to be something that you really, really want. And once you understand what it means to be the best person you can be, you should obviously want to be the best person you can be, right? It's like, that's the whole idea, right? That's the whole idea of living in a way, is to try to make yourself into the best person you can possibly be. So I want the good, I choose the good. I'm sorry. So I know the good, I want the good, and I choose the good. So those are the first three steps. And again, I'm simplifying them. Hopefully it makes sense, but you can get into them a little more deeply. Now, the fourth step is center, right? So you're going to center yourself in the good. Now, what does that mean? This is a really huge understanding that I believe the whole human race needs to know if we're ever going to make it. And this is the idea of our core belief system, this moral code, this you can call it like an operating system of a computer, whatever it may be, this core lens that you view the world out of determines your fate in this world. It determines a lot of if you're going to make it or be a good person or not. And what I have found is there are 10, what I call them the 10 laws to live by, that if we embrace these, it would really change the entire world. And again, each one of these laws is deep. I mean, it goes into many, many chapters in the book, but I'm going to do them really quickly. And the first two should be fairly obvious from what I said before. So the primary purpose of, let me say it like this. The primary purpose of life is to be your true self, live your true life, and go to heaven for believers. The true purpose of society is to become the true society. And I outline what that means, and I talk about all different systems working together and harmony and trying to help us and all that. So this idea of you becoming the best person you can be, living your ultimate life, creating a better world, and going to the ultimate place should seem pretty obvious that would be the ultimate goals, right? Like becoming your ultimate self, living your ultimate life, creating the ultimate society and all of that. So that's kind of like the ultimate goal. And that sets the focus. That sets kind of like the guide mark of what we're trying to achieve. Now, the next three laws, I call the universal laws. These could actually change the entire world if we embrace them and live them and really understood them. The first one is respect life. And this really boils down to caring for our world in a way that is respectful, in the sense that it provides our water, our clean air, our food, and everything else. And if we just care for nature properly, it will give us everything else we want. The next one is all people are equal. We talk about equality. We don't mean that everybody has the same skill sets and can do everything equally, or that all traditions and everything else is equal. No, what we're talking about is all of us are humans, right? We're all, and this is a really important point, because people try to talk about different races. You mentioned earlier, there's only one human race, okay? It's humanity, one species, okay? That is not the problem. The problem is that some of us are learning bad ways of doing things, right? Like prejudice, discrimination, hate, and everything else from when we're really, really young. So this idea of all people are equal is about equality under the law and the way we treat people with common decency and respect and humane treatments and all the rest, right? It should be seem fairly obvious. And then the next one is, shows up in every religion, every spirituality throughout the world, is the golden rule, which is to treat people as you want to be treated, right? Which should make sense. If we, goes back to the bully things. If we teach our children to feel the empathy and the sympathy for somebody, to how would you feel if that was done to you and all the rest of that, we would eliminate most of the problems of the world. Now, again, these three, if you understand them all, I know I did it really fast. There's a lot more in the book, but respecting life, caring for our world, just treating everybody as equals and as you would want to be treated. Can you see how just those three alone, if they were, embraced by everybody, reflected in our business and our governments, how we could help solve most of the problems that we're facing?
Absolutely, and that's really important when you think about it. I mean, the whole idea of humanity, and I think for a lot of people, the idea of good is really, though, leaving our planet in a better position than we found it, right? That goes to what you were saying in terms of appreciating life and understanding life and doing good to others just like you want done to yourself, et cetera, et cetera. And when you look at what it is that we're really trying to do, there are some people who, they say dog eat dog world. And it's unfortunate that that's the world that they see themselves living in. There's also those that say be kind on the way up because you're going to be meeting those people on the way down. And it shouldn't be that idea, well, what happens if I do fall? It should just be, like you're saying, always just appreciating people. One of the things that I've spoken about many, many times is the idea, even if you're in the supermarket or you're in a hotel and you see the person who's sweeping the floors or the housekeeping maintenance team, to most people, they're invisible, right? I mean, you walk straight by them as if they don't even exist. The people returning the shopping carts to the area where the shopping carts are held, you just, all right, that's their job. I don't have to say anything. I can just ignore them. And then there's the ones that go out of their way to say thank you, have a nice day. Just even a friendly smile. And I'm not getting into the mask thing because that's a whole other story. But certainly if I'm outside and I see the guy pushing the carts back, my mask is off at that point, and I say thank you so much. To these people, you never know when that's going to mean the difference between having one of their best days or having just another one of those really lousy days. And so respecting people, like you were saying, Andrew, is really important. It's how do we really show that? One of the other things I've been teaching my kids, and I do this all the time. My kids know already, and they've been certainly doing this also. You see a veteran, especially someone who's wearing one of those hats that say, Vietnam vet, Korean vet, whatever it is, or they're in uniform right now. You go over and simply say, thank you so much for your service. In Judaism, there's an idea of hakarat hatov, recognizing the good. And it really becomes important to look at what it means to really recognize the good, yes. Right? It's not just enough to say, I see it, but you're really saying thank you, right? One of the other things, and I know in Christianity, you certainly say thank you for the day. In Judaism, you say the same thing. It's telling God, thank you for waking me up and bringing me back, giving me another day, and things along those lines. It's because of this idea, and we don't want to get theologically or religious in terms of what it is that we're trying to discuss here. That's for a completely different topic. But just in terms of really giving that really good in terms of where we are, if we wake up and we understand that that is our purpose, everything else kind of starts going in. And it really becomes, how can I be the agent of good today? Even if it's just that simple smile, thank you, have a nice day. I mean, think about the cashier at the supermarket. Again, someone who we really don't pay any attention to. one of the things that I personally try and do, I try and learn their name so that even if they're not wearing their name tag and I see them walking by in the store, I can say, hey, Bernie, how are you? And it makes a world of difference to them because they're no longer just a faceless, nameless person who just scans your stuff and you go and whatever. They're now a person. And it doesn't matter how big, how little you are. You can be doing this. And it's really important that you focus, even if it's just one thing that you do a day, right? And I'm going on your one thing. What can you do to make someone feel better, right? I think you would completely agree on that.
Absolutely. I mean, that's being nice to one another, you know, being kind to one another, love one another, that idea, that thread that we're all one human race, and we should treat each other with respect. It kind of translates back to core values. Again, it's like this, if you're really human, you know, I mean, you really embrace what humanity is and all that is, not ignore feelings like a lot of men are taught to do. I think the problem is that we're not integrated fully as humanity. Like we're denying parts of ourselves to the point where it's detrimental. And I think a lot of this stems back to Freud and the way he divided our minds, you know, the id, the superego, and all these things. Like you're some, you know, fragmented being who can't figure his life out and needs therapy. You know, but I wish Floyd would have met people in the East. I have degrees in Western and Eastern philosophy, because the whole idea of becoming one, you know, integration of your full self, you know, becoming your true self, this idea is so fundamental to what we're after as humans. You know, I mean, we all feel, everybody I've ever talked to feels like there's this emerging person in them that if they just had the right whatever, that it could come out and they could be this person that they really knew that they could be, you know, that they really wanted to be, but they don't know how to do it. And when I go through training people and helping people, you coach successful people too, and 99% of the time when I coach people, it always comes down to internal problems with the way that they're viewing others or the world. It's very rarely that the problem is exterior. I don't know if that makes sense. Like when you're talking about your business, a lot of times there are business problems, but a lot of times it stems from the CEO not understanding certain aspects of marketing or finance or truck delivery. But if you just were to go down to the truck drivers and talk to them about what their problem is, he would go, oh, we have way too much time loading these trucks in this yard because they're sitting there waiting, you know what I mean? And it's costing us a lot of money. So whatever it may be, what I'm saying is it's about all of us learning how to be the best people we can be, but it's also very confusing. And that's where I'm trying to say is like, we don't need to know everything to become the best people we can be, but we do need to really understand some things. And the rest of the pieces will fall into place once you understand these key pieces. So, you know, if we're going to create a better world, you were talking about like this idea of, you said so many good things. It's like my mind's going 100 miles an hour right now trying to answer them all. And I think for me, there's this great hope for humanity, but there's also this great fear and sadness. And I talked to a lot of people that feel this too. Like there's a great anxiety in the world right now. You know, like nobody has any control. You know, a lot of us see that pollution is destroying the world. They're cutting down literally the lungs of the world as we speak, you know, and then we see people just hating on one another. The Democrats are evil. The Republicans are evil. Everybody's evil. We must hate them. We must hate them. We must fight them. We must destroy them. We must obliterate our enemies. You know, where is the peace? The talk of, look, we need to stop all this hate. Our leaders are out of control with all of this division and hatred and war. And, you know, these are the solutions. If those are the solutions your leaders are coming up with, they're not leaders. Okay, the true solutions of this world bring people together and show us the way of peace, right? You're never going to create a world of beauty and wonder and you know, peace through violence. It's just going to create more horror and death and hatred. So I know I just went off on a few different tangents there, but you just got me thinking about so many things that I think it's like, if we're going to fix this world, for me, it's like we all got to get on the same page on some of these basic fundamental things. We need to join together very quickly and use our power to make these changes happen. And I keep talking about this with people and they all agree with me, but it seems like every day things get more and more spun out. It's just, it's, I don't know, to me, it's really like, it motivates me, but it also is very depressing in the sense that I think we all want things to go faster. We just got to keep our optimism and keep working at it and never, ever give up on the aspects of peace and uniting people, not on fighting people. Does that make sense? No, I just went off a lot of.
No, and it's really a great way to look at what it is that we try and do. Again, it goes to what we mentioned a few moments ago, that really the goal of life is to leave the world in a better place, right? If we can see we're making a difference, and again, some people have means where making a difference is a certain way that they can do it. Other people don't have the means where they can really make as big of a difference, but they can make the same difference. It's just a different way of doing it.
I gotta interrupt you right there, because I believe that it's the many that has the most power. You know, certainly we can add in the Oprahs of the world to the group, right? And they have massive power. But imagine this, one person with $1 billion is not as powerful as 1 billion people giving $1. Okay, so I know we all feel helpless. I feel powerless. People talk about, oh, you're so successful. I have no power compared to these people that are doing this stuff, and no way to even get my message out there. I've been, censored in China and all these other countries. They won't even take my book. They canceled my shows there. I try to get on some of these media shows, and they want division people on there. They don't want somebody talking peace and unity. So for me, it's like, what's frustrating is it seems like the world is situated so that the evil and the wrong and the hatred and the division can win, right? It's like, who in the right mind would destroy the lungs of the world? These literally are like our couple rainforests in the world. They're huge and they provide the world's oxygen. They clean, you know what I mean? Like, who in the right mind would go, yeah, let's cut all that down. Let's destroy it. Nobody, but we're doing it right now. You know what I'm saying? Who wants children to be murdered in a war? You know what I mean? For no reason. Nobody wants this. It's only some psychos at the top that decide, no, let's go cut down all the trees and kill all the people in these cities and take over the world. For what reason, are you doing this? It's like they're so lost. And that's what I mean about becoming corrupt. And I know I'm getting a little excited, but one of the things I see all the time is that when you study human history, I'm saying very, very few, ever do evil thinking it's evil. Okay, literally the greatest evils in the world are done by people thinking they're doing good, right? It's like the Crusades, right? Who can rationalize? I talk to Christians all the time. Who can rationalize this, right? Like somebody's there saying, okay, let's go down to Christ's homeland. Let's kill as many people as we can. Let's steal all their stuff and take their land. It literally says in the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal. Yet millions, like countries and countries of people, the religion that is representing the King of Peace decided to go down there for hundreds of years and kill and rape and murder and steal all their stuff. So what I'm saying to you is, people, like, I don't care what side you're on. I hear this from Republicans. I hear this from Democrats. I hear this from Christians and Jewish people and Hindi people and whoever. Like, if you're feeling like you're so righteous and so good and all these other people are evil and they deserve to have all these horrible things happen to them and treated like dirt, you're the one who has fallen to the dark side, thinking that you're doing good when you're actually doing evil. Okay, you cannot do evil, lie, cheat, steal, manipulate, kill, murder, rape, all these rest of these things in the name of God. Okay, it doesn't work that way. We, as the Abrahamic religions, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, we're all supposedly representing this one all creator being. And that's the God I went and found and has influenced me my whole life. And if we can't see the flaws in our religion, then we are flawed. You know what I mean? It's like we are all flawed. It's reflected in everything that we have, everything that we do. It's reflected in all our institutions. It's the nobility of humanity is noticing these flaws and working to compensate for them. That's the only thing that makes us worthy of even consideration, because otherwise we would just be giving into evil and just being like, yeah, that's okay. But we're not, right? We always try to fight it. We're always trying to checks and balances. We got to figure out a way. But then there's always these evil people, right, that are out there like trying to destroy the world, like Putin, right? He's literally thinking he's doing something good, like in his head. I'm sure he's like, oh, I'm helping my Russian people out, and these people are evil. I must destroy them. But he's deluded himself, right? We all know that, and that we see this played out. I mean, I've read so much history, it's almost sickening. You know what I mean? It's like this story of horror of man thinking they're better than everybody and then wanting to some reason kill and destroy everybody that doesn't agree with them has been played out in the East and the West, you know, throughout all the thousands of years of our history. And if we're going to really evolve and save our world, we as humanity have to realize that it's got to stop, right? We have to embrace the good side of ourselves and not the bad side. This is what needs to be reflected in our society, and the good have got to take control before the evil people destroy everything. This isn't like the past where Alexander the Great took him 100 years, whatever, 50 years to go through 5 countries. This is, I press a button and everybody dies time. So we as humanity can't just keep playing these games anymore and letting these psychos run the world. We've got to take control. When I say we, you know, the meek, the good people need to stand up and be you know, the voice of reason. I know I could keep going, but hopefully that makes sense.
It does. And I mean, the whole idea is you don't want to be Machiavellian and saying the ends justify the means. I mean, that whole idea is what you're saying is the quick way to going down the wrong path. And so it's really important.
Never led us anywhere, has it? we
right.
Look through all of human history and see that path where it leads. It leads to hell.
Absolutely. So I want to go back and do the last 3 of the steps: the
That's
be,
right.
the unite, and the perfect.
Okay. So I'll outline them quickly. I won't go into them deeply, and then if you have questions, because I know we're probably pushing the limits. But okay, so step 5. So we did, you know, I know the way, or I know the good, I want the good, I choose the good, and I center in the good. This is about your core belief system, these 10 laws. And then the next one is be. So, you know, it's like be the good. And in this step is where we get down to controlling time and rituals and understanding the art of life and how they affect the foundations of life. And then we talk about the daily way. I know I'm going to mix this up a little bit. Let me explain what I just said a little bit more. So the idea of a daily way is if you're really going to become the best person you can be, you need a plan. And there's a lot of key points that you need to integrate during your day. And depending on where you are and what you're trying to do, everybody's a little different. You need to customize this plan. I call it the daily way. So you literally are going to outline from the moment you wake up until you go to bed and how your day is generally going to go. And you can have more than one of these. You can have a one that you make that's like, this is my ideal day, but this is the day I can live right now. And again, there's a lot to this. I know I'm just giving you a quick overview, but the idea is that you need to control time. Rituals have to do with, you know, like sound and smells and different things you do that can make any activity more beneficial. So controlling time, controlling ritual, the art of life. I don't have time to get into the art of life, but the idea of the art of life is like you could be humdrum, like you could see a building that's just square box, you know, gray and what, you know, very unappealing, or you can see this wonderful work of art. You are like that. You can literally make yourself into this wonderful work of art as a human being. So understanding those principles and applying them to the foundations of life, like sleep and your life tasks, the fuels that you consume, your daily care routines, all these different aspects that we all are forced to do can be perfected. Like literally there are, you know, best practices associated with sleep, going to the bathroom, you name it. If you integrate all of those, it can help you become a better person. So the idea is in step 5 is to create this daily way that helps you integrate these virtues into your life. And we go through each of these different foundations in detail, just so people know the way is broken up into 3 books. Okay, so the first book covers all 7 steps of the way. The second book is called the Life Manual, and it goes into the details, which I'm talking about right now, which are the foundations of life, because it was way too much to put in one book. And the third book is the Child and Family Guide that has information about how to raise your kids and all that kind of good stuff, but also how to integrate the principles that you learned within the way and the Life Manual into your kids, help ingrain these best practices from when they're born instead of having to learn them. And let me just say that that's really the key point to all of this is like when you're 40, you're going to learn things from me and in this that you're going to be like, wow, I wish I knew that was a kid. But the cool thing is that we can literally teach our kids these things. So their first habits, their first emotional way of being and mental way of being is based on all these best practices. So they don't have to relearn them later. So the whole idea of step 5 is that integration of creating your daily way. Step 6, unite. Like you mentioned, this is a big step too. This is about how we can unite as people. This is where it relates to the one party, the one tribe, and the one movement, in the sense that, if you're going to step out in the world, you want to communicate really well. You want to maybe not be addicted to certain drugs. You want to have good, like I said, communication standards and all these. You want to put your best foot forward is what I was trying to say out in the world. But then you also want to unite with people. But to unite with people in the right way, we have to understand how society is made, like the systems of society, government, wealth, power, how these systems work, right? How they're supposed to work and what the problems are. And that's what I outline in step 6. And let me just say this, because I know we don't have a lot of time to go too detailed into step 6, but all the people out there that are seeing the problems in the world, okay? You see these problems in government, problems in business, problems all over the place. This is a great thing because if we understand the problems, we can fix them. We couldn't before. The second thing is, if we're ever going to fix these, we cannot keep burning down, breaking, and destroying everything and then trying to recreate it. You haven't studied enough history if you think that's going to work. It'll never work. All that will happen is the next super powerful people will come in and take control after you destroy the current structure. The only way to fix this is to fix the systems. The systems are not evil. We need government, we need business, we need all the water systems and everything else, but we need them to work well. So the idea and the way is to show us how they are supposed to work and how we can all join together and fix them. And then step 7 is perfect. And I talk about this in 3 different ways, really, but 2 sides of perfect, as in, something is perfect now and something that needs to be perfected, right? So the idea of something that's perfect in our world, there's nothing perfect in this world. Nothing is going to stay perfect if you don't maintain it, right? That's the first thing. The other thing is, to really embrace perfection is to embrace imperfection. Because like I said, we live in an entropic universe, which means things are falling to decay. We are like the anti-entropy beings here trying to create order out of chaos. So the idea of understanding perfection is to, like I said, if something is good, you need to maintain it. I don't care what it is, a relationship, a painting, whatever. And then there's always sometimes though, when you think something is perfect or you achieve a goal, that there's always that next level. There's always that more refinement that can be made. And that's also the idea of the 7th step is perfection. And that's how the way becomes kind of a circular program to where you always go back. You can always learn more and perfect yourself. You know what I mean? No matter how far you've come, there's always farther to go. Okay, that gives a kind of a quick outline of those 3 steps. Hopefully it makes sense.
It does, and thank you. And I think that for our listeners, it's really helpful to really have that way of thinking, because now as we're all taking it in, and we can think a little more strategically in terms of how we're trying to live our life, what it means to really be here on this planet. Like you were just saying in the last step, is it perfect now or does it need to be perfected, right? Our bodies as our temples is also in the same idea, right? Are we perfect as we are, or do we need to be perfected? If we believe that we're never really perfect, that we're always striving to improve upon what it is that we're really trying to do, right? It allows us to become more angelic, if you will, in terms of really trying to do more good and understanding how all of these different pieces, so know the good, wanting the good, choosing the good, center with the good, be the good, unite as people and perfecting where we are, it really becomes that much more important in terms of what
You just froze.
it is that we're really trying to do. And you hear me?
Yeah, no, you're back now. Wait, you just froze again.
Okay. Gotta love technology.
Okay, you're good.
Okay, and I apologize if I'm going to repeat some of what I was just saying, but in terms of where we are, again, having that ability to really see where we go, right, and using those steps, the knowing the good, wanting the good, choosing the good, centering on people and perfecting us as people is really going to allow us to really make that difference. It's going to allow us to really start coming together more as one, and what we can really be doing to really start having that connection. So, Andrew, as we look at wrapping up our conversation, I want to ask you, how can people find out more about you?
Sure, that's a great question. Yeah, I don't want this to be the end. This is just the beginning. So I want you to all be able to realize, first of all, I'm just starting this out. So nothing is perfect. You know, I need to maintain things that are good, but I also am looking to refine everything. So, and it's not about me. Okay, this is literally about the way humanity can become our best and we can create a better world. So the best place is the hub for everything. I've named 7wayme. That's a website. It's the number 7, WAY.me. And on the website, you can find everything about the way and the one. You can find out where to buy it. You can learn about it. You can join the Life Essentials Master Class that will be up shortly, which will teach you, like we'll go over, it's free too, just so you know, it's going to go over the meaning of life, the true goal of life, outline the 7 steps of the way and everything. And you'll find all the shows I've been on, all the social media, join the one movement, the one tribe, and the one party. You know, it's all there on the website, 7wayme. And let me just say this, it's like, I go on these shows and I talk with people and people, you know, DM me and such after the shows, and it's all positive feedback. I've had people question me like, this can't be right. This, you know, but once they read it or they get into it, they come back to me and say that it is. And all I say to you is, look, if this is real, don't be so jaded by what has happened. We can do something new. The way has not been seen before. We need a container for these ideas, these golden threads, these universal truths, and we need an organization to then join within to make these things happen. So if you see this truth, join me, because if you don't, then it's like we as good people all lose, because that's how the good is going to lose. If we do not unite and make these steps, the evil people that are lost, again, I think everybody's redeemable. We need to help them, you know, come back from the edge. You know what I mean? We turn the wrongness into the right. We can only do that if there's enough of us sharing the truth with others. You know what I mean? And believing this. It can't just be a voice out in the wilderness. So please join me. Please help me do this. This isn't about me, and I certainly don't know everything. I just know a few things, and that's what I know, is that we need to join together to make this happen.
Wow, that's really incredible. And again, go to 7way.me. It's going to be in the description and the notes on the show as well, where you can find everything out about Andrew, find out more about the books, the master classes like Andrew was saying, so that you really have more of an idea in terms of what you're doing. And you really want to be thinking, what can I do starting today to really be making that difference? Right? Like we said a couple of times, how is what you're doing going to impact you? But not just you, the people around you. What is it that you're doing that is really going to be telling people that you are now a person that they should be following instead of somebody that they should be turning away from? A lot of what we do has to do with how we put ourselves out there in the world. Andrew has been extremely talking nothing up his sleeves, and he wears his heart on his sleeves, right? You know that that's where Andrew is coming from. When you hear the passion and the ideas and everything that Andrew is saying in terms of what it is that Andrew is trying to make a difference in this world, it is incumbent upon all of us that we think, what is it that we can be doing to really be doing something similar? And it doesn't have to be on the same grand scale. Andrew said the power is in the masses, right? When all of us can get together and we can unite as one, we have an incredible amount of power that we can then be causing a change. There's some people who can do it on their own, like Andrew mentioned, Oprah and Bill Gates and people like that. They've got power to move the needle on their own simply by saying something. Most of us, we don't have that ability to be just putting something out there and everything change. But there is that power as we look at how we act, the people that we connect with, the people that we rise up and help them become just like us and go in the direction of good and seeing where we can be going. The more that we can see this is what we really are meant to be doing, and again, that goes back to the meaning of life. And again, like we said, it's not 42. It's really all, what is it that we can do to be making a change? And it doesn't matter if it's in business or life. It is really, what are we doing that is going to make our world and ultimately the universe, because eventually, we're going to be on other planets. So it's not just enough for Earth to be better. To really be having this start making a difference. The more that you can commit to making that difference, the more you know you're going to be following in the direction of good and coming together, because many, many, many people want to be doing good. On that note, thank you so much, Andrew, for being my guest again.
Thank you.
Again, 7way.me. And this has been another episode of MOJO, the meaning of life and business. And until next time, here's to your success. This has been another episode of MOJO, the Meaning of Life and Business podcast. If you like what you heard, please consider leaving us a review, liking us, or reaching out to us. You can contact us at bgsicoaching.com and let us know what you think. Thanks so much again for listening.